Welcome to Super Meat World. Into this update, we're gonna play a chapter entitled The Lime Key, which is also made by RockLeeSmile, and hooray, it is here once again. So, since it's a RockLeeSmile chapter, I also have him into this one update in order to comment about the chapter. Hello!
Hello, thank you again for having me, and in fact, not only thank you for having me, but thank you for even playing this chapter, because I wouldn't have blamed you for skipping it entirely, because it's so freaking hard.
Yeah, I really was considering skipping it at first because, well, that was the main reason why I wanted to skip it, because I could not beat this chapter at all. But I went back to it and I pretty much said to myself, if I can beat this chapter, then I'm gonna show it off.
Thank you. And you know what Edmund said about this? My very first piece of feedback was Edmund tweeted to me, "This is too fucking hard."
I figured this is what he said about pretty much every single chapter that was made. And I don't know, is this the first level you've made in dev mode, or...?
Yeah, pretty much. It obviously kind of looked like it, right?
Yeah, because, we're going from the first level to another level which really looks something like 10 or 15 times better than the other one.
I think it was just nostalgia. Like, I didn't want to just ditch my first level, I wanted it to be in something, so I put them all together. I probably should have, though.
Well, to be fair, we all have to start somewhere. Yeah. And mainly because the first level is also really, really hard, because I'm really bad at doing very narrow jumps on single blocks or something like that. It's just really, really tricky for me. Oh, and speaking of tricky, this is probably one of the hardest levels into the chapter, mainly because, I don't know, this is one of the things that I really wouldn't like about the chapter, and it's the fact that it's overly schizophrenic. I mean, the chapter simply cannot make its mind about its difficulty. Yes. There are some levels into the chapter which are pretty manageable and all of this, but there's a few curveballs or brick walls into the way, like this one level. Although I gotta say, I really like the elevators that you have going here in order to simply make you crash into the spikes.
Yeah, thank you. I was looking for unique ways to kill the player that I don't remember seeing in the retail chapter.
Yeah, essentially this is what every single person was doing dev mode back in the time where, oh yeah, this is the elevators in action. In fact, yeah, this is one of the things that I wouldn't really like about the level, because you absolutely have to stop before you go into the elevator part, because you're gonna get killed if you simply try to run through without any kind of pause or anything. Oh, and yeah, fitting to this one saw blade is also pretty hard.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing for me, is coming back down.
I thought for 1 second that I was gonna escape from my death.
Oh, you did it pretty well there, actually. You just slid right through.
Yeah, yeah, I've slid through time here, because, yeah, for some of the deaths, I'm just gonna cut forward in order to the part where I previously died, just in order to keep things a little bit more straightforward and orderly, because if we're gonna watch every single one of these playthrough, I'm pretty much gonna be into this level for at least 5 more minutes.
Yeah, no, it's a long video for sure, and I don't blame you.
Yeah, in fact, the raw footage for this one update was something like 40 minutes.
Oh, well, thank you for having the persistence also.
Yeah, I'm just having way too much patience overall. Yeah. And yeah, the last part of this level is also pretty hard, with the 2 saw blades, which are shooting slightly out of sync. Yeah. One of them shoots a whole lot before the other one, and I'm always hesitating, but yeah, you can see that the left one shoots a whole lot faster than the other one, and yeah, just in case that you didn't believe that I spent a lot of time on this one level.
I hate that I forgot to make a Bandage girl. Like, I always make her 0.60 when I scale her. That's like the standard size for me, and for this one, for some reason, I just didn't do that, so that bothers me.
Yeah, although I thought that for the warp zones you didn't have to scale it, because she was scaled automatically.
Oh really? Maybe I just forgot, because I haven't hardly ever used that tile set.
Yeah, me neither. In fact, the only two tile sets that I've ever used for levels was the Salt Factory and
Rapture, right? Rapture's the best.
Yeah, it's just a pretty good universal tile set and overall. So yeah, this level is pretty particular because, as you can tell, there are no obstacles into the level. It's essentially mountain climbing before Unholy Mountain made it popular.
It actually may have been right after Unholy Mountain. No, oh, it wasn't?
I wouldn't really think so, because Unholy Mountain was like one of the final chapters to be done.
No,
and this is one of the earliest one that I can recall.
I was thinking of there's a like free climb or something. Somebody else made another mountain climbing level, and I made this right around the same time, but I wasn't thinking of the chapter actually.
Okay, so essentially it was just a standalone level that you had designed, and after that you just wanted it into the chapter in order to put it in there.
Yeah, I really like seeing how people would approach this, since there's no obstacles. There's a lot of different ways you can go about navigating, and there's a lot of really precise jumping, obviously. But yeah, I think it came out pretty cool. It's just ridiculously a long time to decorate that one.
Yeah, I know that the first time that I played this level, I didn't have the patience to sit through the level before, but I came back to it a couple of times, and every single time that I played it again, I got a little bit further. And yeah, this jump, however, is really nasty, because the upper patch of salt here doesn't seem like it, but it's not an obstacle. You can go through some of it and you'll still live.
It's a little bit of a glitch I am unfortunately having to admit to on that one. But I love this level. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it just looks really, really neat, and for a change of pace, this level is pretty easy also, which is another reason why I like it.
Well, you mentioned that the design is a little bit schizophrenic, and I entirely agree with that. I was kind of going after all these different themes, and I sort of thought the theme of the level is how completely unorganized it is, or the theme of the chapter, rather, is that it jumps all over the place. And so this is like an Atari ST combat simulation, and there's a light there for no reason, of course, because that's what happens.
Yeah, essentially this is just the TV dying while it's playing the game. And yeah, apart from the look of the level, which is pretty novel, unfortunately the actual level itself is not very interesting, because essentially in order to beat this level you have to do one jump, but it's really hard to do.
It was more like a puzzle. I wanted to see if people would be able to figure out how to get through it, more so than anything else.
Yeah, essentially it's just a wall, do the wall jump properly and you'll be able to be the victor of this one level. Ah, Jesus Christ, well I get it.
There you go.
Here we go. Yeah, I can tell by the part time even you had something like 2 or 3 tries before you got it right.
Oh, I love this one too. I spent so long working on this. It's a one-to-one recreation of this actual area from Super Metroid. I actually took the map and I copied every single tile as closely as I could.
Yeah. Welcome to Norfair! Ah!
Oh man. I didn't think he would make a cameo.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, but I just had to do it.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm a fan.
But yeah, I also like this one part where you're just going along all of the little balls of fire all around the place like that.
Yeah, no, Meat Boy has his Varia suit ready to go. His gravity suit, actually.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's pretty clever. I really gotta say. But the one part, however, that I don't like of the level is the early bit where you have to jump through all of these tiny holes in order to survive, because you really have to take your time. You simply cannot sprint through all of this and then simply jump at any given moment.
It's very anti-speedrun, I agree. And I have to point out another flaw in this one. I actually didn't know, because I made this pretty early on, I didn't know how to use the lava ball deleters. So all I did was make a hole in the floor that's got a solid-looking tile over it, and they just fall right in that and fall off the bottom.
Yeah.
So if you just wait, eventually the lava balls will just stop showing up. So I was kind of embarrassed about that, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Because, yeah, usually you have to use an item. I'm just saying that for the people who don't know how the level editor work and all of this. But in order to delete lava balls, you needed an object in order to make it this way. Because if you made a drop in chapter or something like that, the object will still exist. But if you have way too much objects into the screen, then everything will come to a screeching halt.
Or it'll just stop spawning them, which I think is what it does there.
Yeah. Oh, and here comes a level which entirely changes the rule of the game.
Yeah,
because
I love this level. It's so freaking stupid, though.
Yeah, because into this one level, you pretty much have to stop learning how to play this game properly. Because, well, usually you're playing through this game in order to avoid dying. Dying is a penalty, but into this one level, you have to die in order to beat it. Because whenever you're dying and all of your little blood spurts go all over the place, they make it so that the blood will fall on invisible blocks that will make it able for you to make your way all across here.
Yeah, the only way other than that to do it is if you memorize exactly where they are, but I haven't done that even myself, so...
Yeah, and this was the one part that always puzzled me, but yeah, it turns out that the one block is here. I think you can make the blood splatter go into this one block if you jump on the saw blade, which is on the upper left entirely, but I didn't really remember how to do this one properly. I just remembered that the block was there, and I figured if I jump out of the left side of the screen, I'm just gonna make the splatter appear, and well, that's pretty much it. This level, however, I'm just not too sure about what was going on with this one level.
Everybody says this one's so hard. I actually didn't have that much trouble with it, but I guess I was pretty good at the gravity spheres, so I don't know. I guess it's very personal whether it's difficult or not.
Yeah, I think the first time that I played this level, it took me something like 5 minutes, but thankfully this other time it was a whole lot shorter. But in overall, I'm not really a fan of this level, mainly because there's just not really that much decoration or anything going on in it.
Oh yeah, super minimal, but this one's much better, right?
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite levels into the chapter. I just like all of these really simple levels where the aim of the level is really easy to grasp, but the actual execution itself is really tricky.
And of course this one also has a faulty light that I didn't put there because that's what happens again.
Yeah. Level uploader to the rescue!
The light's supposed to be up in the tunnel where the bandage is at the top, but, you know, it didn't happen.
Yeah. Oops. Basically, I had a good idea here, but I didn't really do the jump properly because, yeah, the one saw blade which is there prevents you from making this one jump so that you can avoid all of the saw blades and make it to the other side in safety. Unless that you're some kind of miracle jumper, but I've never been able to do this. But I always gotta like all of the little background touches that you see into some of the levels, mainly all of the animated backgrounds that you see that are moving, and yeah, I really gotta ask you, how the hell did you do this one level?
It's just a glitch I took advantage of, to be honest with you. If you scale something to a certain size and you place it in the right spot on the background, so it's like slightly offset from 0, 0, it will do this.
Okay, because I can't
even replicate it, like it's only happened this one time. So I don't know exactly why it happened that way, but it did, so I tried to make a level around it because I thought it could look cool.
Yeah, just look as if you're some kind of really blue weird guy trying to rob a bank or something.
That was the idea.
Yeah, too bad that the actual level itself doesn't really play that well, because the graphical tweak on all of this was really, really neat. This level for some reason gives me some trouble, even though that it really isn't one of the hardest levels in the chapter.
Yeah, no, the point of this one was to look impossible, and then when you figure it out, it's like a puzzle. You just have to know where to stand, and it's pretty easy. I can do this every time now.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a little bit of trial and error, because you have to figure out the timing at which all of the saw blade launchers go in. They're also really, really slow. Basically, this is what happens to saw blade launcher if you diminish their animation speed to the lowest. Basically, whenever you hear the sound going and then the saw blade shoots something like a full second later.
Yeah, I had fun with it. You know, the trick is that everybody assumes that to get to that key you want to go as fast as possible, so they jump over all those break blocks, but the best thing is to do is to just run over them, and then you have a spot to stand. That's that.
Yeah, pretty much, because that's pretty much the only way in order to avoid the saw blades to begin with.
Oh, you found the good path right away, good.
Yeah. Although, I was trying all of the little paths here, because I was under the assumption that pretty much all of these paths will allow you to beat the level.
Yeah,
I'd like to see this as some sort of precursor to your other passenger level where you had a whole lot of paths, but this one's a lot trickier because, well, you're on a time limit.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive time limit, too. In fact, I probably could have lowered it by, like, or given you about an extra 5 seconds and it still would have been hard, but no, I didn't.
Thanks,
yeah,
jerk.
I just wanted to be a jerk, that's it.
Yeah. But, yeah, at least you always gotta have some challenge every once in a while.
Just every once in a while, that's it.
Yeah, because I know I'm gonna have a whole lot of challenge by the time this chapter ends. But yeah, even though that the presentation of the level is very minimalistic, at least I gotta say, this is a fun level to play though.
Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it at least on some level.
Yeah, I mean, there are some bad levels into this one chapter, but this is far from being one of them. So, what is next into the one chapter? I really cannot remember. Oh my god!
The
Ouch,
namesake
my
level.
eyes! My eyes! What are you doing to my eyes?
Yeah, it's supposed to look
Yeah,
like one of
as-
those Day of the Dead skulls. I don't know if you know that reference, but they have like a Mexican celebration of life and death, and they have these very colorful neon-looking painted skulls, and that's what this was inspired by.
Okay, I never guessed.
So there's the reference for it.
Dolphin. Okay, because Dolphin was really bright, but I was just thinking that perhaps it was just a little bit too bright.
Yeah, I can see that. It's fine.
Yeah, mainly because of the palette that all of the blocks and all of this use. Meat Boy just looks really weird with that color palette.
No, I can't remember if the light got broken in this version of it. When you get the final key, the brain is supposed to open up, and a plume of green light is supposed to shoot out into the sky.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
oh yeah, basically
that's supposed to be the key to tell you to go up to climb the outside, but I don't know if it showed up.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think it ever showed up for me. All I can see here is pretty much the purple maggot scene onto the top of the mask. Well, other than that, I was just trying to figure out, okay, how the hell do I go up here? Well, okay, I guess I need to go down because there's like a hole here and there's another block that you can stand on. But I'm just not a fan of all of the little tiny ledges that you have to stand on in order to be able to survive. Oh, and speaking of narrow jumps that you have to do, this is another level which I really dreaded back in the time. But hey, you're going into a gun, so this is why it's explosive.
Yeah, I actually made this to look like the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 title screen from multiplayer.
Okay.
Probably the most random reference I've ever put in a Meat Boy level, but I thought the fun thing about it was that you had to use the above ceiling conveyor belt to be able to get over that gap properly, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that, really.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the one part which I really don't like steady now. Oh my
so
god.
close.
Yeah. When I said that I'm really not good with narrow jumps, you're pretty much having the proof positive here. In fact, back in the time, this was another one of the levels that I didn't beat, because I thought that you needed to do a wall jump off the final ledge, but there, I figured out that you can go through the back like this.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, I made that kind of confusing.
Yeah, because I really thought that, okay, there's no way that you can go there, because it just will be too easy otherwise, but... Okay, it figured that, well, at least you had some mercy.
Alright,
this is pretty much... Yeah, this is pretty much my love 8 level of the chapter, because I really love the look of this level, because I really love all of the background touches that there are into the level, but on the flip side, this level is way too hard.
Yeah, I will completely admit this is probably the worst level in the chapter, in my opinion. The idea is supposed to be that you actually have to know, like, hit the timing of each of these moves so it syncopates properly with the saw blade launchers. But most people aren't going to be able to do that, and even when you're good at it, you still kind of do it hit or miss, and then I made the whole thing way too long, so...
Yeah. I mean, there's just way too many of these tunnels and all of this, and you have to do some jumps here, because otherwise, well, there's no way in order to be safe from any of that, and the saw blade launchers shoot too fast in order for you to make it all the way there, but there's like one spot into the entire thing where you can jump and where you'll be safe.
I'm actually amazed that you finished this, if you did finish this, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone record this level before other than you.
Yeah, so I figured that I'm the first person to ever beat this level.
It may be true.
Yeah, because, well, if I didn't manage to beat this chapter, I wouldn't have recorded. I didn't notice that I was in any kind of danger. I just thought that for 1 second that I could be safe here, but unfortunately I was wrong.
Did you get the reference at the very bottom there? It's supposed to be the Marathon logo.
Oh, I wasn't familiar with them, but then again, I never really played their games. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to mention that if anybody else noticed. So there it is. It is actually the Marathon logo.
Yeah, it's always nice to have all of these random references which are explained, because I never would have picked them up otherwise. But yeah, I really like the background here, mainly all of the little touches that you see, mainly like all of the animated things that you see going into the background. And back in the time, I always thought, holy shit, this guy does really good backgrounds for his levels.
Yeah, I actually went for sort of the same theme in Bonobo from Passenger, if you remember. It looks pretty similar to that.
Yeah. But here we go, we're finally done with the nightmare. It's raining a slate rain of naked. Yeah.
That was quite a pile you just lost there in that tunnel down.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just made it there something like 4 or 5 times.
Now this level I actually quite like. At least I think it's sort of interesting, although I agree that it's probably a little too hard. But I think that the path through it is kind of cool.
Yeah, in fact, this is, in the hand stretch, this is my favorite chapter of the level, and I think from all of them, this is the one which has the most manageable difficulty.
Although I'm not sure I'm happy with the decoration. I think it looks a little weird to me, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really mind it. I do like it. Mainly all of the little poles that you see all around here, and yeah, in fact, all of the little decrepit thing that you see into the crack here. I'm not too sure what this is supposed to be, but it really looks neat. And yeah, in order to not die here, you have to stand into this one place so that the saw blades will rotate over. And yeah, when I was telling that this wasn't the hardest level of the entire chapter, well, yeah.
I can't wait to see you get the bandage if you do decide to append that to the end. That the bandage path for this was probably the most interesting part.
Yeah, I'm gonna put all of the bandages that I didn't get into this recording later into the video, so that, well, I'll be able to collect them, because I know I've collected every single bandage when I did that, but when I recorded this chapter, I gotta say, I just kind of dreaded recording this chapter, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try beating the level just to see if I can make it, because, well, I managed to beat this entire chapter once, but I really wasn't sure about how long it will take me to get through this chapter, mainly because of how hard it is in overall. This is one of the harder chapters on Super Meat World. Not the hardest, but it's along there with the hardest of the bunch.
But we're on one of my favorite levels, actually. I think this one came out really cool, even though it's ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
It's got 2 paths through it, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna showcase the other path right here, and in fact, what you're looking at right now is my first attempt at attempting to beat this level. I gotta say, when I started recording the Lime Key update and all of this, I never managed to beat this level before, and I basically went through it. Okay, I have no clue if I can beat this level, but I looked at the video that you've done in order to showcase the playthrough of all of your level, and yeah, what the hell is the key here for some reason?
Yeah, what happened? It's supposed to be in the mouth. That's bizarre.
Yeah, I know, because in the other playthrough it was in the mouth, but for some reason it just decided to... Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Just seems as if it's... Yeah, it just seems like one of the random glitches of the game once again, because I saw another chapter which had a key like this into a small alcove like this, but for some reason it got bumped off the top for absolutely no reason. And,
yeah, so you can see it's in the right spot right there.
Yeah. Hooray for the most random glitches, but here's the one bandage that I decided to put in the main video itself, because compared to the other bandages in the level, this one entirely changes the way that the level is played, so I figure it was worthy of the main playthrough video.
And I just want to mention that fan that's there, even though it looks super tiny, it completely stops you from going back up the other path if you pick up the bandage. So once you go down there, you're committed, you're going the long way.
Well, I don't know if this one way is longer,
the hard way,
because you don't have mainly because you don't have to get the key at all in order to make it through there, but the jumps are a whole lot more difficult. In fact, for a long time I was persuaded that this one jump was impossible to do.
It should be impossible, but I was surprised that I could do it, and then I was like, alright, well, if I can do it, I'm leaving it.
Yeah. But yeah, essentially, as you probably guessed by the fan, the size of it really doesn't matter whether it pushes you around or not, because the only thing that you need to apply in order to make the strength of it is to edit the variable. Basically, the size of it have no reference or anything other than the area that it will affect.
Oh, that was remarkably well played getting up that. Very nice.
Yeah. As you can tell here, I had a little bit more practice after beating the level the legitimate way, so I finally knew how to do all of this, but as you can tell, the going up there certainly wasn't easy at all.
And that will bring us to level 20.
Yeah, the Piece of Resistance. This level I'm pretty familiar with.
Yeah, I believe it's somewhat infamous. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think this was kind of a thing for a while.
Yeah. I especially remember reading about the original version of this level, which supposedly was even harder than this one.
Yes, much harder. I actually went through and I tweaked every single, you know, spot and, like, jump and angle and everything to make it much, much more accommodating for people to get through, and it's still really hard. But at least I can beat it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. But the first time that I made it through this one level, I'm pretty sure that it took me over an hour to finally beat this level for the first time. I really didn't know why, because it was like, this level is bullshit, why the hell will I keep playing through it? And I was like, oh, okay, I figure I'm just gonna keep going, mainly because it's bullshit.
Well, you know, it's a badge of honor once you've beaten this, and especially if you've recorded beating it, you definitely get, you know, a high five for that.
Yeah, pretty much. In fact, I was so dedicated to this one level that I recorded like 3 different runs for this one level. That was just how dedicated it was, because, well, I initially wanted to do a playthrough where I only got the bandage and then finished the level, but I figured, nah, this one route where I got the bandage and finished the level didn't look good enough, so I'm gonna do another one in order to finish the level while it looks competent and where I didn't fuck up anything.
Did you get any glitches when you're playing? Because this level has been strange with fraps, and I've had it where I just fall through the entire stage.
I never had any kind of issue with that. But yeah, this level is also pretty particular because it uses a glitch in the engine into the lower right portion of the level where you have to wall jump vertically up in order to do that. Basically, I think it's achieved whenever you're doing a jump and the middle of your character is simply hovering over nothing. So essentially, I think it's how it works because I can get the glitch to work pretty much every single time that I play the level. And yeah, this one corner jump managed to kill me a lot of time, but here we go! We're finished with the lime key!
Yeah, I would explain exactly how the glitch works, but we're running out of time, so maybe another time. But I have actually distilled it down to a science, and I've applied it to my new chapter quite a bit, so there's like 5 different levels so far that use that.
Yeah. In fact, we're gonna be able to see it again right here into the
There
replay.
it is.
Yeah. Here we go. Every single time that I went there, the glitch always worked. And surprisingly, I didn't spend too much time on this one level. For some reason, I really remembered this level still pretty well. But then again, I also went back and watched the other video that I recorded for this one level in order to remember how it was beaten. But hey, that's beyond the point, so, okay, that really wasn't it. Yeah, it definitely took me a little bit more effort than the passenger.
Well, props for doing it, and thank you again.
Yeah, I just figured, once again, if I was gonna be able to beat this chapter, I was gonna showcase it. In the end, this chapter is a mixed bag, but at least it's still a pretty interesting level, mainly because there's no level in the chapter which is alike, and that alone pretty much makes it worthwhile to check out because, well, all for variety's sake and all of the little things that it throws at you. So anyway, thank you for being alongside with me into this one update.
No problem.
We're not done yet though. As I stated, I'm gonna be showcasing all of the other bandages that I've skipped into my video, mainly because in my main playthrough I was just concerned about being able to beat those levels in the first place, so I just decided I'm just gonna keep them for last. And obviously there is a bandage into this one level, and you have to take the most obtuse path through all of it. Instead of going through the mountain, you have to go around it. And the jumps here are ridiculously narrow. In fact, when I first played this level back in the time, back when the chapter was being released and was in the work and all of this, I never managed to get this bandage. And what you're looking at right now is my first attempt ever at getting it. And yeah, it took almost 2 minutes in order to be able to be up there. I mean, some of the jumps in the main course of the level can be pretty tricky, but these, it's just pushing it. They're pretty much pixel perfect, especially here. But here we go, we finally have the bandage, and yeah, we have to go through the level now. But thankfully, we're just gonna skip through all of this because I'm pretty sure that you don't want to see this ever again. But yeah, it took over 3 minutes in order to finish the level, to the point of breaking the instant replay of the game. At least this level is a relief both in difficulty and the difficulty of the bandage itself. You just have to be careful while you're doing this level because, well, you need to make sure that you're able to get all the way back here, mainly by not destroying too many of the blocks. But once that you've grasped this little concept here, but because, yeah, I really didn't make it that easy here, but we're gonna make it through just fine. Here's another bandage, which looks harder to get than it actually is. It's pretty easy to get the bandage. In fact, the hardest part of the deal is to simply make your way down here without killing yourself. You still have to deal with the level after that, but as long as you take your time, it isn't all that hard, and whenever you finally do it, an imaginary bandage will be yours. This bandage, however, is pretty tricky to get. This one definitely took quite some time in order to finally achieve. You need to do this really tight corner jump up there in order to get a key which opens the way to the bandage, and then you play the level the way it's supposed to, as long as you don't kill yourself in the process. Now we can get the bandage, but rest assured that it isn't all that easy because those saw blades can be really hard to avoid because they're pretty tightly grouped together, but as long as you stay into the place where the little bars go, you should be all fine. Oh, and here comes the mother of all bandages. Well, it's not the bandage which is hard to get, but it's the level itself once again. In fact, it pretty much took me about half an hour to record this level again in order to get the bandage and finish the level. I'm pretty sure that my earlier playthrough where I made it through just fine pretty much was a fluke, because this other time nothing went well when I recorded this level. But I'm just not gonna make you watch all of this because this video is pretty long, and with this final bandage at end, it's finally time to call it quits for the Lime Key. Coming up next, time to ruin the reputation of the good old state of Minnesota. Minneapolis by Ryoko TK.